Go. Who's your congressperson?
I'm sorry?
Never mind. Let's go ahead.
Okay, awesome. Thank you. Today's guest served as the seventh Comptroller General of the United States, leading the Government Accountability Office through two administrations with a clear, non-partisan mission: fiscal responsibility, strategic auditing, and national transparency. David M. Walker's book, America in 2040, Still a Superpower, opens with a powerful wake-up call that without urgent course correction, the U.S. risks following the fate of past empires: economically overextended, politically gridlocked, and competitively stagnant. He spent the last 2 decades warning, educating, and now equipping individuals, entrepreneurs, investors, and citizens alike to step up as change agents in both the public and private sectors. Mr. Walker, thank you for joining us today.
Good to be with you, Eric. Thanks for the kind comment about my book.
Oh, absolutely. It was a wonderful read. So to start off here, Mr. Walker, I work in mergers and acquisitions. So your book opens up with a stark warning that America risks systematic decline if we don't fix our fiscal foundations. In that sense, your work has functioned as kind of a national due diligence, right? Exposing liabilities, inefficiencies, and structural risk before they collapse us. In the
Right.
M&A world, right, due diligence functions the same way. It's about seeing behind the numbers before you overpay for a broken system. What parallels do you see between the kind of accountability you called for in government and deal structures, audits, and integrations we see in business today? And what can business leaders learn from your national turnaround framework?
Well, first, when I ran the GAO, the Government Accountability Office, I got the agency to focus on three things: oversight, insight, and foresight. Oversight, what's working, what's not working. Pardon me, oversight is, are people doing what they're supposed to be doing, complying with applicable laws and regulations? Insight, what's working, what's not working? Foresight, what are the trends and challenges facing the United States, its position in the world? How can we address issues before they reach crisis proportions? But if you talk about from an accountability standpoint, beyond that, if you look at the financial statements of the U.S. government, you would be really shocked. The largest asset that the federal government has is $1.8 trillion in student loan debt. Secondly, despite the fact that the U.S. government owes Social Security, Medicare, and certain other trust funds about $7 trillion, you won't find that on the balance sheet of the U.S. government. In addition to that, despite the fact that we have about 80 to 90 trillion dollars in unfunded obligations for Social Security and Medicare, while you'll find it in the annual financial report, you won't find it on the balance sheet of the U.S. government. So as a result, you need to understand what the true picture is. To understand the full and fair view of what's going on, where we're at, where we're headed, how we compare to others. And so I think, when you're doing due diligence with regard to M&A, that's what you're trying to do. You're not just relying solely on what you see and what you're being told, because the people that are talking to you obviously are not objective, okay? And I remember testifying in Congress many times, one of which was on the situation in Iraq. And General Petraeus testified before me, and he talked about how things were going in Iraq. And needless to say, everything was going great, according to General Petraeus. And then I testified, and let's just say there was a difference between what I said and what General Petraeus said. And I have great respect for General Petraeus. And the chairman of the committee said, well, what you said was a little bit different than what the general said. Can you explain that? I said, yes, the general's management. He's going to tell you the good stuff. He's not going to tell you what's not so good. That's why you have us. And it's also one of the reasons you have due diligence at M&A.
I think that's awesome. So it's a matter of perspective, right? You were coming at it from a different perspective than the general was. How do you get behind, you said you can't find it in the balance sheet. So in government, where are you going to look under the hood so you can find it? And then in M&As and structuring deals, how can you use that same kind of thought process?
Well, you need to understand what are the drivers of revenue, what are the drivers of expense. You need to understand your competitive posture. I mean, who you're competing with, what is your market share, What are your comparative advantages as compared to others? You know,
Got it.
in my case, you know, I understood a lot of these issues, and therefore I would end up trying to make sure that we had information in all the key dimensions with regard to that. It's not that the information wasn't there; it wasn't pulled together in a comprehensive and integrated fashion. And that's part of the job at GAO to be able to look at things on a professional, objective, fact-based, nonpartisan, non-ideological, non-personal, and hopefully fair and balanced manner.
Well, from what I can tell, you did it better than most.
Thank you.
So great
Thank you.
job. Um, so in the revised edition of America in 2040, your final chapters are a call to action, not for Washington, but for individuals. You argue that entrepreneurs, investors, and citizens hold the keys to renewal. What specific steps can business leaders take to contribute to national revival through how they manage capital, scale responsibility, and engage in civic life? And in the area of economic volatility and investor uncertainty, how should entrepreneurs be thinking about their role? There's so much uncertainty going on globally, locally, but how can entrepreneurs be thinking? What can they be thinking about, not just for profit, but to have that long-term vision of stability that you yearn for?
Well, unfortunately, our financial condition as the federal government is worse than advertised. Um, Unfortunately, most of our politicians are focused on the next election rather than the next generation. We are mortgaging the future of our country, our young people and future generations at record rates when they're going to face a lot tougher competition in an increasingly interconnected and interdependent world. That is irresponsible, it is unethical, it is immoral, and it needs to stop. The first three words of the Constitution need to come alive. We the people, they're the most important and powerful words. That means individuals, that means entrepreneurs, that means people that have influence and resources. They can have a disproportionate effect on making sure that our elected officials quit mortgaging our future, start taking steps that will end up reducing our deficits, reducing our debt to GDP, and putting us in a much more prudent and sustainable path. If you can't put your finances in order, you will not maintain economic power over time. And if you do not maintain economic power over time, you will not maintain superpower status over time.
So if we scale that way back to a business, right? If the financials aren't in order, the business isn't really sellable. Or if it's not sellable, it's not going to get the premium price for it, right? So in
Well,
America,
that's correct. And the United States, there's nobody going to bail out the United States, okay? And so, and we can't go bankrupt, all right? But at the same point in time, we've promised a lot more than we can afford. We've got to reconcile that. But businesses can go bankrupt, and they will go bankrupt if they don't maintain competitive posture and if they don't put their finances in order.
absolutely. Mr. Walker, your career and your message, it's been relentless. It's a relentless wake-up call. Perhaps more importantly, America in 2040 is also a roadmap, right? Shows us how to shift from decline to dominance, not through policy, not through politics alone, but through the action of entrepreneurs, investors, and engaged citizens. To anyone listening who sees himself as a builder of the future, I highly recommend 2024 edition of America in 2040. Still a superpower. It's a mirror and a warning and a guide. Mr. Walker, thank you so much for being here talking with us today. You've paved a path forward and helping us think bigger, not just for profit, but for our place in history. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Eric. Appreciate it very much. All the best.
All right, thank you, sir.